The long border is looking really good. What's really standing out are the hellebores. Look at those beautiful blossoms. And some of them are actually going to seed. I saw some seed pods back here. Look at that. So this is gorgeous. This is a Patzalong plant from a good friend. And then we have this stinking hellebore. And the flowers on this are gorgeous as well. And look at those seed pods. So I will let it reseed and just spread throughout this area of the garden. This long border was created using the sheet mulching technique, and I am so glad that I covered this area with cardboard, because this is so much more beautiful than all the grass that used to be back here that I had to cut. And this garden bed is a great example of why I continue to get rid of more of the lawn in my garden. Back here we can see a peach tree in bloom. I did not prune this tree this year. It just kind of got away from me, but I'm just going to let it leaf out and blossom, because right now it is just absolutely gorgeous. The sunshine ligustrums look amazing. If you guys go back and watch my YouTube video on pruning these sunshine ligustrums, I had no idea that they would bounce back and bounce back so well. So they can take a pretty drastic pruning and be okay. I have a lot of autumn joy sedum here, and these are from propagations. The birds are having a party. I love this variegated sedum. Look at that. And there's some other types of sedum. I love to just prune or break off pieces of sedum and put them all around the garden, because they are so easy to propagate and move around the garden. Definitely a choice for the beginner gardener. Let's see if I can get these birds on camera. I have the Agastaki. That's what this is. It's in the mint family. And I'm so happy this came back this year. There's another patch right there. There is a butterfly bush here. I recently pruned that one back. Ornamental grasses. And a patch of strawberries. There's a peony labeled there. And you can see the little red sprout coming out of the ground. That's the peony. I planted that last year. We'll see how that does. But the daffodils are definitely giving us a beautiful, beautiful show. It's a little rainy out here this morning, but what a perfect day to do a spring, early spring, late winter garden tour. It really feels like spring, even though I know we still have several weeks of winter remaining. This is my front garden bed, where I have this red twig dogwood and a yellow twig dogwood growing as well. These were propagated. I propagated these, the red one, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, just from stem cuttings. And the yellow one is a propagation from last year. I have some beautiful daffodils in this bed and lots of beautiful weeds. But some of those weeds are actually primrose that will bloom probably in the next month. But these daffodils are gorgeous. I really enjoy these. The white petals and the yellow center. I love the variation. Here's a different variation, that same shape, but the middle color is a little paler. Here's some more beautiful daffodils. I recently extended this bed, so my rocks are everywhere because I pulled back the rocks to extend the edges, and I decided to sheet mulch the edges of this bed because I got tired of digging up the turf. So in this bed there is a limelight hydrangea. There are actually two. The other one is right here. It's much smaller, but that's fine. It gives it a little dimension over here. These are two phlox plants and ornamental grass. I don't remember which type. But let's look at this red bud that I have growing right here, and it is blooming at the very bottom. Check that out. And it will grow shorter than other red buds, but what makes it different is that it blooms all the way to the base. So that's what you're seeing there. Red bud blooms coming up from the bottom up. But I really enjoy this bed. I plan to continue to extend it because I want to get rid of as much grass as I can in my front garden and just have beautiful plants growing. This is my favorite Japanese maple. This is a lion's head Japanese maple, and it grows very slowly. So I'm okay with keeping it in a container for now and probably for a couple of years. But when this thing leaves out, it is absolutely gorgeous. So one thing you'll notice about my garden tours is I just show you what's happening on that day. Because if I waited for everything to be perfect or cleaned up, you guys would never get to see my garden. But this area, again, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I extended this bed recently. I ran out of mulch. That's why you can still see newspaper in different corners. And that's why these two bags of mulch, or these two layers of mulch, don't match. Because I was down to 2 bags of mulch, and so I just poured them onto this spot. But I'll be adding more mulch and making this more consistent as far as the mulch is concerned. This one is probably my favorite type of mulch. This is, what is it called? Pine bark mulch, I believe it's called. But this one is my favorite one. So I'll make sure to pick up more of this to cover up the areas all the way down. Over here, I forget the name of these, but I do know the name of these beautiful plants. These are my fire chief arborvitaes, and they are absolutely gorgeous. They have been such a beautiful addition to the garden. They turn this bronze color in the winter, and then as the weather warms up, they start to put on their green color again. This sidewalk garden is really my first big flower garden. I started with just a little patch by that big green box over there. And each year I just continue to expand this area. Usually after a rain, a few days after the rain, I would come out here and just dig the edges and make this bed bigger and bigger. So over here I have a container full of succulents, hens and chicks. There's a euphorbia in there that I hope will come back. Over here I have some irises that are coming up and lots of daylilies. These will be orange daylilies once they bloom. This is a eastern redbud. So that's the type of tree that I have planted here. And we'll go down the path here. There are lots and lots and lots of bee balm coming soon. This entire area will be covered with bee balm. And this bee balm gets to be maybe about 4 feet tall, maybe 5 feet tall. I have some lilies that are starting to come up. Grape hyacinth again. And so in front of this big green box, I have a hibiscus that's been there for several years. But I try to plant things that get pretty tall around this box so that I don't have to stare at this big green box all summer and spring. So we'll move down the edge here. There's Francisco, my frog. He looks over the garden. We have tulips, daylilies coming up over here, daisies. There is a snowball viburnum right here. And again, lots of irises, daylilies, tulips, daffodils. There's a little patch of bee balm, Jacob Klein bee balm right there. We have some sedum, a little small patch of sedum. And we all know what that is. And if you don't, this is a peony. Peonies, they don't bloom. The blooms don't last very long here, but I've had this in my garden and I'll keep it in my garden. We'll see how it does this year. I have a hydrangea here. I believe this is a strawberry sundae. Strawberry sundae. That's new to the garden. We'll see how that performs. And there's a hibiscus. Now, there's not much to see with that hibiscus right now, but I'm just documenting what's currently in the garden. I want to talk about this patch of irises. When I established this sheet mulch bed, I covered the area, covered the cardboard with lots and lots of compost and topsoil. And I just set these iris rhizomes right on top of that sheet mulched area. This is the second year for these irises. They should bloom this year. But this shows how strong the roots are on these plants. They were just sitting on a thin bed of soil on top of cardboard. And now that that cardboard has decomposed, those roots can go even deeper. So this is going to be pretty exciting to see this year. I have lots of hydrangea cuttings down here on the ground. That's what you're seeing there. So as we move around here, this is a Louisiana iris. And we have lots and lots of daffodils. I love this corner bed. This again was sheet mulched. I had 2 Bradford pears in the side garden that were removed. And so I just turned this entire area into a garden bed.